Ever since she was young, Evelyn had believed that a single act of genuine kindness could alter the entire course of one's life. In the small coastal town of Bayview, a place where the salty tang of the sea mingled with the nostalgic aroma of freshly baked bread, she had often wondered if the person one helped on an ordinary day might one day hold the key to an extraordinary future. Evelyn's own story, which unfolded in the warm glow of Harbour Lights Diner, would eventually force her to reconsider everything she knew about generosity and fate. For 35 long years, Evelyn had poured her heart and soul into Harbour Lights Diner, a modest establishment tucked away on a weathered corner of Bayview's bustling boardwalk. Now, 62, the many years spent on her feet had taken their toll on her body. Her back ached from the constant standing and bustling about. Her knees had grown stiff from years of labor, and her hands trembled ever so slightly, a quiet testament to the decades spent stirring pots of steaming soup and pouring frothy cups of coffee. Yet, despite these physical burdens, she never once allowed her weariness to dim the gentle light of her spirit. To Evelyn, Harbour Lights Diner was far more than a mere place of employment. It was a second home, a haven where the simple act of serving others could bring solace to souls in need. Every morning, as the first blush of dawn crept over the horizon, she would open the diner's doors with a smile that spoke of genuine warmth and compassion. The establishment, though showing the wear of many years, exuded a quiet charm. Its faded neon sign, still clinging valiantly to life, cast a soft, shimmering glow over the time-worn pavement and the weathered wooden panels of the diner. It was a place where regular customers, who had come to know Evelyn by first name, gathered not only for a hot cup of coffee or a hearty breakfast, but also for a moment of connection, a reminder that they were seen and cared for. Evelyn's daily routine was filled with small yet significant interactions that enriched her life and those of her patrons. There were days when the diner bustled with the lively chatter of families and the excited banter of friends catching up over a meal. And there were quieter moments when a solitary figure would slip into a booth, burdened by the weight of unseen troubles. It was in these latter moments that Evelyn's heart shone brightest. She would lean in close, offering a listening ear and a kind word, and in doing so she would help these lost souls find a moment of relief from their heavy burdens. Her kindness was not measured solely by the food or drink she served, but by the way she made each person feel valued, understood, and never alone. One particularly blustery afternoon in early autumn, when the sea wind howled and whipped the boards of the boardwalk into a frenzied dance, Evelyn noticed a solitary figure enter the diner. The chill in the air was palpable, and as the last of the afternoon customers wrapped up their meals and prepared to leave, a man in tattered clothes hesitantly crossed the threshold. His disheveled appearance immediately set him apart from the usual clientele. His clothes were worn and frayed at the edges, his shoes bore holes that seemed to whisper tales of hardship, and his gaunt face, lined with the marks of sleepless nights, spoke of a life steeped in struggle. He shuffled slowly, his gait uneven, as if burdened by a weight he could not set down, and he hovered uncertainly near the entrance, unsure if he belonged in a place so full of warmth. Evelyn's eyes softened at the sight. Without a moment's hesitation, she approached him with her trademark gentle smile. "Welcome to Harbour Lights Diner," she said in a tender, inviting tone. "Can I get you something to warm you up? A hot cup of coffee, perhaps?" The man hesitated, glancing around as if weighing whether he was worthy of such kindness. Yet when his eyes met hers, a pair of kind, understanding eyes that seemed to see right into his soul, his defenses began to crumble. "A coffee, please," he murmured, his voice hoarse and barely audible. Moving swiftly, Evelyn set to work. She brewed a fresh pot of coffee with care and attention, and while the rich aroma filled the small space, she prepared a simple plate of lightly buttered toast. Placing the tray before him on a small table, she offered a soft smile and said, "I know it's not much, but you look like you've had a rough day. Please, don't worry about paying. It's on the house." Taking a seat across from him, she introduced herself. "I'm Evelyn. I believe everyone deserves a little warmth, especially on days like these." For a long, quiet moment, the man simply looked at her, his eyes softening with a mix of surprise and gratitude. "Thank you," he finally whispered, his tone laced with vulnerability. Slowly, he sipped the coffee, each swallow easing some of the tension that had knotted his shoulders, and he ate the toast with measured care, as though each bite was a small victory over the hunger that stretched beyond the physical. As the day wore on, and Evelyn resumed her duties amidst the clinking of dishes and the soft hum of the diner's radio, she couldn't help but think about the stranger. There was something in the way he had carried himself, a burden perhaps, too heavy for one man, that stirred a deep curiosity in her. She longed to ask him about his life, to learn the story behind those tired eyes, but the relentless rhythm of the evening left little time for such inquiries. All she could do was hope that her modest act of kindness had provided a brief respite from his troubles, however fleeting it might have been. Little did Evelyn know that the repercussions of her compassion were only just beginning to unfold. Later that evening, as the warm glow of the diner's interior slowly faded into the encroaching darkness of night, Mr. Carter, the stern, no-nonsense owner of Harbor Lights Diner, approached her with a look that was anything but gentle. His voice, cold and clipped, broke the fragile calm that had settled over the dining area. "Evelyn," he said, his tone laced with disapproval, "I hear you've been giving away food for free." Startled and dismayed, Evelyn looked up from her tasks, her heart sinking as she tried to explain. "But Mr. Carter, he didn't have any money. He looked so hungry." Her voice was soft, pleading even, as she attempted to justify her actions with nothing more than a desire to help. Mr. Carter's eyes narrowed into a steely glare. "This isn't a charity, Evelyn. This is a business," he snapped. "We have bills to pay, and you can't simply hand out food to anyone who walks through that door without consideration. I'm sorry, but you're fired. Please pack up your things and leave immediately." The words struck Evelyn like a sudden, icy gust of wind. In an instant, everything that she had known, her daily routine, the comforting familiarity of Harbor Lights Diner, and the deep personal connections she'd nurtured over decades, seemed to crumble into dust. With trembling hands and a heavy heart, she began to gather her belongings. Each item she packed carried memories, the chipped coffee mugs that had borne witness to countless conversations, the faded napkins that had once been tucked into the corners of moments of shared solace, and the very uniform that had, for so long, been a symbol of her identity. Stepping out into the cool night, Evelyn felt as though the foundation of her life had been abruptly swept away. The familiar streets of Bayview, which had once resonated with the sound of laughter and the gentle murmur of daily life, now seemed cold and indifferent. Her once secure existence was in ruins, replaced by an overwhelming uncertainty that pressed upon her like the relentless tide against the rocky shoreline. The following morning, with a sense of profound loss and disorientation, Evelyn wandered the streets of Bayview. The bustling boardwalk, once a place of comforting routine, now appeared alien and forbidding. With no job and scarcely any savings, every step she took seemed to echo with the fear of an unknown future. Bills piled up like storm clouds on the horizon, and her small apartment, which had been her sanctuary, now felt more like a cramped cell, its walls closing in around her. Sarah lowered herself to the steps, and her small apartment, which had been her sanctuary, now felt more like a cramped cell, its walls closing in around her. Each day blended into the next, a series of aimless steps through a town that had suddenly lost its color and promise. Days turned into a restless, anguished blur. Evelyn's once resilient spirit was now weighed down by despair. She questioned the fairness of a world that punished kindness, wondering if perhaps the simple act of compassion was too vulnerable a gesture in a world ruled by cold practicality. Yet, even in the depths of her despondency, a fragile ember of hope remained. A hope that one day, fate might find a way to repay her generosity. That opportunity came on an overcast afternoon as Evelyn meandered along the boardwalk, her eyes fixed on the grey horizon. It was then that she spotted a familiar figure standing near a row of closed storefronts. At first, she hardly recognized him. The man who had once entered Harbor Lights Diner in such a disheveled state had transformed into someone entirely different. No longer was he the broken, ragged figure she remembered. Instead, he now exuded an air of quiet confidence and dignity, dressed in a finely tailored suit that spoke of hard-won success. His once tattered appearance had been replaced by a neat haircut, polished shoes, and an unmistakable aura of self-assuredness. He paused when their eyes met, a gentle smile softening his features. "Evelyn," he greeted warmly, extending his hand in a gesture of familiarity and gratitude. "It's a pleasure to see you again." Evelyn blinked in surprise, her heart pounding with a mixture of confusion and disbelief. "I'm Evelyn," she managed to reply, "but you're not the man I saw yesterday at the diner, are you?" The man's smile deepened, his eyes twinkling with quiet humor and genuine warmth. "I was, once," he replied softly. "But that was then. My name is Marcus Lowell. You might not recognize me now, but I am the very man you helped yesterday at Harbor Lights Diner." For a long moment, Evelyn stood in silence, trying to reconcile the memory of the gaunt, disheartened stranger with the poised, well-dressed man before her. I don't understand," she stammered, her voice tinged with both wonder and trepidation. "How is this possible?" Marcus's eyes shone with the recollection of a painful past. "I haven't always been the man you see today, Evelyn. I was homeless, struggling in ways you can scarcely imagine. I had reached a point where hope was a distant memory, but your kindness, a simple cup of coffee and a slice of toast, rekindled something inside me. It reminded me that, even in the darkest moments, there is light. Your compassion gave me the strength to rebuild my life." Evelyn felt a lump form in her throat as the truth of his words settled in. The memory of that quiet moment in the diner, the gentle way she had reached out to him, suddenly gained a profound significance. "But why?" she whispered, still struggling to understand. "Why would you come back now, after everything that happened?" Marcus leaned in slightly, his voice both tender and resolute. "Because, Evelyn, I believe in paying kindness forward. You gave me something priceless, a second chance. I've since become a philanthropist, dedicating my life and resources to helping others who have lost their way. I owe much of my transformation to you, and I want to help you now. I want you to use this gift to create something extraordinary, something that will continue to change lives long after today." As Marcus spoke, he reached into the inner pocket of his suit jacket and produced a neatly folded envelope. With a reassuring smile, he pressed it into her hands. "This is for you, Evelyn. Please take it. You've earned every bit of it." Hesitantly, with trembling fingers, Evelyn opened the envelope. Inside lay a check, a sum so vast it seemed almost surreal, enough to cover all of her mounting bills, secure a future free of financial worry and then some. Her eyes widened in disbelief as she struggled to comprehend the enormity of the gift. I don't know what to say," she whispered, her voice shaking with a mix of gratitude and incredulity. Marcus's eyes crinkled with warmth as he replied, "You can say thank you, or you can simply let your actions speak for themselves. I want you to use this to do something that truly matters. A project that gives others a second chance, just as you gave me mine." In that life-altering moment, Evelyn's despair began to give way to a newfound sense of purpose. The very act of kindness that had once been a quiet, almost unnoticed gesture had blossomed into a transformative opportunity. No longer did she see herself merely as a long-time diner attendant. She began to envision a future where her compassion could create a ripple effect of hope and renewal. With Marcus's unexpected generosity as her catalyst, she resolved to embark on a mission that would honor the spirit of giving that had saved him. Drawing on her years of experience and the deep connections she had forged with the people of Bayview, Evelyn set her sights on establishing the Beacon of Hope Foundation, a non-profit organization dedicated to serving the homeless, the hungry, and the forgotten. The funds Marcus had provided would enable her to secure a building, hire dedicated staff, and launch programs designed to offer not only immediate relief in the form of meals and shelter, but also the tools and support necessary for long-term transformation. The early days of the Beacon of Hope Foundation were fraught with challenges. Evelyn found herself working around the clock, driven by a fierce determination to make a tangible difference in the lives of those who had been overlooked by society. She negotiated with local businesses, rallied community leaders, and even found solace in the shared stories of the many individuals whose lives she touched through her work. Every small success, a job placement, a heartwarming reunion, or a simple thank you from someone who had found hope again, reinforced her belief that kindness, when nurtured and multiplied, could, indeed, change the world. As the months passed, the Beacon of Hope Foundation began to take root in Bayview. Its modest headquarters, a refurbished building that once served as a rundown warehouse, soon buzzed with activity. Volunteers arrived with open hearts and willing hands, drawn by Evelyn's unwavering spirit and the promise of a brighter future. The organization offered not only hot meals and temporary shelter, but also counseling, job training, and educational programs aimed at empowering individuals to reclaim their lives. Each day, as Evelyn walked through the busy corridors of the foundation, she marveled at the ways in which her small act of kindness had blossomed into a full-fledged movement of hope and compassion. Despite the many triumphs, there were still moments when Evelyn's thoughts turned back to the painful memories of that fateful day at Harbour Lights Diner. The shock of her dismissal from the only job she had known for decades still stung, and there were times when the burden of uncertainty threatened to overwhelm her. In those moments, she would find solace in the quiet reassurance of the ocean's ceaseless rhythm against the rocky shore, a timeless reminder that life, like the tides, was ever-changing and full of possibilities. Slowly, she began to understand that every setback was not an end, but rather a beginning in disguise. A call to forge a new path, illuminated by the light of compassion. One clear winter's evening, as the foundation prepared to host its first annual community celebration, Evelyn received a letter in the mail. The envelope, embossed with a sophisticated crest, bore her name in elegant script. With trembling hands, she opened it to find a heartfelt note from Marcus Lowell. In his characteristically calm and sincere tone, he wrote, "Dear Evelyn, in life, there are moments when the simplest acts of kindness reveal the greatest truths. I have watched with admiration as you transformed a small gesture into a beacon of hope for those in need. Your courage and compassion have not only rekindled my faith in humanity, but have also paved the way for countless others to find their own strength. Enclosed with this letter is confirmation of a generous donation made in your name, an investment in the future of the Beacon of Hope Foundation. May it serve as a reminder that your work is valued, your spirit is cherished, and your efforts will continue to create ripples of change for generations to come. With deepest gratitude, Marcus Lowell." Evelyn's heart swelled with emotion as she read Marcus's words. The letter, like the envelope before it, carried an undeniable sense of promise and possibility. It was as though every obstacle she had faced had been leading her toward this singular moment of recognition, a moment when her years of quiet perseverance were finally acknowledged. In that instant, Evelyn realized that the hardships of the past were but stepping stones to a future filled with hope and opportunity. In the months and years that followed, the Beacon of Hope Foundation flourished under Evelyn's tireless leadership. She worked ceaselessly to expand its reach, forging partnerships with local government agencies, businesses, and community groups. Together, they built a network of support that extended far beyond the borders of Bayview. The foundation became a sanctuary for those who had been marginalized, a place where anyone in need could find not only nourishment and shelter, but also the resources and encouragement to rebuild their lives with dignity and purpose. The transformation within Bayview was gradual, yet unmistakable. The once forgotten neighborhoods began to glow with a renewed vibrancy as people who had once been invisible to society found themselves embraced by a community that believed in second chances. The sound of laughter and hope echoed along the boardwalk, mingling with the gentle crash of the waves on the shore, a living symphony of resilience and revival. There were countless stories that emerged from the Beacon of Hope Foundation, stories of individuals who, through the support of Evelyn and her dedicated team, rediscovered their potential and reclaimed their lives. One such story was that of a young man named Dominic, who had once lost his way after a series of unfortunate events. With the help of the Foundation's job training program and counseling services, Dominic not only found stable employment, but also rekindled his passion for art. His vibrant murals, painted on the once dull walls of community centers, became symbols of hope and transformation that inspired others to follow in his footsteps. Another story was that of Lila, a single mother who had struggled for years to provide for her 2 children. When she first walked through the doors of the foundation, she was overwhelmed by the weight of despair and uncertainty. Yet with Evelyn's gentle guidance and the unwavering support of the volunteers, Lila learned to believe in her own strength. She enrolled in a series of financial literacy classes and eventually secured a job that allowed her to not only support her family, but also pursue her dream of opening a small bakery. Lila's success, celebrated by the entire community, served as a testament to the enduring power of compassion and the ripple effects of a single act of kindness. Every new success story fueled Evelyn's determination, even as challenges arose, the inevitable obstacles of funding shortages, bureaucratic red tape, and the occasional personal setback. She never wavered in her commitment to the Foundation's mission. Late into the night, after the last of the day's paperwork had been filed and the lights in the community center had dimmed, she would sit by the window gazing out at the darkened streets of Bayview and remind herself of that fateful day at Harbor Lights Diner. In that quiet solitude, the memory of the grateful stranger and the transformative power of a warm cup of coffee would renew her strength and reaffirm her belief that every act of kindness, however small, had the power to change lives. One crisp spring afternoon, when the scent of blooming flowers mingled with the salty air, Evelyn was invited to speak at a community forum held at the local town hall. As she stepped up to the podium, her eyes scanned the sea of expectant faces. Neighbors, former patrons of the diner, and even those who had once known her only through the whispered legends of her kindness. With a soft yet resolute voice, she recounted her journey, from the long, difficult years behind the counter at Harbor Lights Diner to the triumphant birth of the Beacon of Hope Foundation. She spoke of the countless lives that had been touched by a simple act of generosity, a cup of coffee, a slice of toast, and a willingness to listen. There was a time, she said, her voice quivering with both emotion and conviction, when I believed that my small acts of kindness were nothing more than fleeting gestures in a vast, uncaring world. But I have learned that kindness is a force beyond measure, capable of transforming despair into hope, loneliness into community, and even a broken life into a tapestry of new beginnings. The room was silent as her words sank in, the weight of her truth resonating deeply with every listener. When the applause finally broke out, it was not merely for the eloquence of her speech, but for the undeniable proof that a single act of compassion could indeed set off a chain reaction of change. Marcus Lowell remained a quiet presence in Evelyn's life, a constant reminder of how a moment of vulnerability and kindness had the power to alter destinies. Over time, their friendship deepened into a bond forged through mutual respect and shared values. They often met to discuss new initiatives for the Foundation, to brainstorm ways to extend its reach beyond Bayview, and to remind each other that every setback was merely an opportunity in disguise. Marcus's unwavering belief in the transformative power of generosity and Evelyn's steadfast commitment to serving others created a partnership that became the cornerstone of the Foundation's success. In the midst of all the growth and success, Evelyn never forgot her roots. She would often return to the now quiet Harbor Lights Diner, a place that, despite its weathered exterior, held memories of warmth, connection, and the very first spark of her journey. Sitting at a corner booth, she would sip a freshly brewed cup of coffee, recalling the countless lives that had passed through those doors and the many souls that had been touched by a simple smile or a kind word. It was in those reflective moments that she felt a deep sense of gratitude, knowing that every hardship she had endured had ultimately led her to this moment of profound fulfillment. Years turned into decades, and the Beacon of Hope Foundation continued to thrive, its impact rippling outwards like the gentle waves along the Bayview shore. New programs were introduced, partnerships were forged, and the Foundation's influence spread far beyond the confines of the coastal town. Yet, amid all this progress, the heart of the organization remained steadfastly true to Evelyn's original vision: to provide a beacon of hope for those who had lost their way, to nurture the spark of possibility within every individual, and to prove that even the smallest act of kindness could echo through time. One particularly poignant evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and bathed Bayview in a golden glow, Evelyn received an invitation to a grand celebration marking the Foundation's 20th anniversary. The event was held in a grand, newly renovated community center that now stood as a monument to the power of collective compassion. As she mingled with former beneficiaries of the Foundation, each of whom had turned their lives around thanks to the programs she had initiated, Evelyn was approached by a young woman whose eyes shone with gratitude. "Miss Evelyn," the young woman said softly, "because of you, I found the strength to rebuild my life. I never thought that one act of kindness could mean so much, but you've shown me that hope is real." In that moment, as tears welled up in Evelyn's eyes, she knew that every sacrifice, every setback, and every moment of despair had been a stepping stone leading her to this point. A point where her legacy of kindness had blossomed into a living testament to the human spirit. Standing on the stage that evening as the community celebrated not only the success of the Beacon of Hope Foundation, but also the enduring power of compassion, Evelyn's heart brimmed with a quiet pride. She realized that her life, which had once seemed defined by loss and rejection, had been transformed by the simple yet profound act of offering warmth and care to a stranger in need. Her journey, from the long, grueling hours behind the counter of Harbor Lights Diner to the vibrant, life-affirming work of the foundation, had proven that every person, no matter how ordinary they might seem, had the power to create extraordinary change. In the years that followed, as the Beacon of Hope Foundation expanded its services to include educational workshops, vocational training programs, and community outreach initiatives, Evelyn continued to serve as both a mentor and a symbol of hope. Her gentle leadership inspired a new generation of volunteers, donors, and community advocates who carried forward her vision with relentless passion. The streets of Bayview, once shadowed by despair, were now illuminated by a collective spirit of generosity, a spirit that could be seen in the smiles of newly employed individuals, in the laughter shared over community meals, and in the determined gazes of those who had reclaimed their dignity. Late at night, when the world grew quiet and the soft murmur of the ocean could be heard in the distance, Evelyn often found herself reflecting on the twists of fate that had brought her to this point. In the quiet solitude of her modest office within the foundation's headquarters, she would revisit the memory of that chilly autumn afternoon, the day when a disheveled stranger had walked into Harbor Lights Diner, and when a single act of kindness had set in motion a chain of events that would forever alter her destiny. It was in those quiet moments of introspection that she understood the profound truth she had always known, that even in the face of life's harshest challenges, compassion had the power to heal, to inspire, and to create miracles. As decades passed, the legacy of Evelyn's kindness grew into a lasting symbol of hope throughout Bayview and beyond. The Beacon of Hope Foundation became a cornerstone of the community, its influence felt in every new life touched and every challenge overcome. From modest beginnings in a small diner to the creation of a thriving network of support, Evelyn's journey served as an enduring reminder that no act of kindness is ever wasted, that every gentle gesture carries with it the seed of transformation. And so, in a town where the sound of crashing waves met the bustling energy of hopeful hearts, Evelyn's life story continued to inspire and uplift. With every cup of coffee served, every warm smile shared, and every life transformed, she proved that even the simplest acts of compassion could ripple outward, creating waves of change that reached far beyond the confines of a single diner. Her legacy was written not in grandiose declarations or dramatic gestures, but in the quiet, steadfast belief that every person deserved to be seen, heard, and loved. In the end, as the stars emerged one by one over the dark expanse of the Bayview sky and the gentle lullaby of the ocean soothed the night, Evelyn found peace in knowing that her life's work had forever altered the tapestry of her community. Through hardships and triumphs, setbacks and moments of unparalleled joy, she had embraced the truth that kindness was the most powerful force of all, a force that could bridge the gap between despair and hope, between isolation and community, and between the seemingly ordinary and the truly extraordinary. Thus, the story of Evelyn and the Beacon of Hope Foundation became a legend in Bayview, a tale passed down from one generation to the next, reminding all who heard it that every act of kindness, no matter how small, held the promise of a brighter, more compassionate future. In every shared meal, every word of encouragement, and every open-hearted gesture, the spirit of Evelyn lived on, a beacon shining brightly in a world that sometimes seemed shrouded in darkness. And so it was that in the gentle cadence of everyday life, amid the soft clinking of dishes at Harbor Lights Diner, the steady rhythm of waves on the shore, and the vibrant pulse of a community reborn, Evelyn's legacy remained an eternal reminder that one simple act of kindness can change a life, can spark a movement, and can ultimately transform the very fabric of our existence. In the quiet moments before dawn, as the first light of day crept over Bayview and painted the world in soft hues of hope, those who had been touched by Evelyn's generosity would pause to reflect on the truth of her journey. They would remember the day a weary stranger found solace in a hot cup of coffee, and how that simple act led to the creation of a foundation that embraced the lost, the hungry, and the forgotten. They would whisper in gratitude the timeless lesson that had been passed on to them, that every life, no matter how ordinary, possesses the power to create extraordinary change through the unyielding strength of compassion. Now, as the Beacon of Hope Foundation continued to grow, expanding its reach, touching new lives and inspiring countless acts of goodwill, Evelyn's heart swelled with a quiet, enduring pride. Every success story, every challenge overcome, every life rekindled with the light of possibility, served as a testament to the incredible power of a single act of kindness. And though the path had been strewn with obstacles, each one had led her to a place of profound fulfillment, where the simple gesture of sharing warmth and care had blossomed into an everlasting movement of hope. In the grand tapestry of life, Evelyn's journey was woven with threads of empathy, resilience, and unwavering generosity. It was a story that affirmed the belief that every kind word, every supportive hand, and every moment of heartfelt understanding could spark a chain reaction that would ripple through the ages. Her life, marked by quiet determination and gentle strength, became a beacon for all those who dared to believe that the smallest act of compassion might one day hold the key to transforming not only a single life, but the world itself. And so, as Bayview continued to thrive under the embrace of a community united by hope and generosity, Evelyn's legacy was celebrated with each rising sun and every new day filled with promise. In every face that smiled a little brighter, in every heart that beat with renewed vigor, and in every story of redemption that echoed through the town, the spirit of her kindness lived on, an enduring reminder that a single selfless act can indeed change the course of a life, and in doing so, can change the world. In this ever-evolving narrative of life along the Bayview coast, where the tide meets the shore with ceaseless determination, Evelyn's journey remains a timeless chronicle of hope and transformation. Her story, rich with the lessons of compassion, perseverance, and the extraordinary power of a warm smile, continues to inspire all who hear it, urging them to embrace the belief that every act of kindness is a spark capable of igniting a brighter future. And as the gentle rhythm of the ocean harmonizes with the beating hearts of those she touched, the legacy of Evelyn and the Beacon of Hope Foundation stands as a shining example of what is possible when we choose to care for one another. Thus, the legacy of Evelyn, once a humble attendant at Harbor Lights Diner, blossomed into a movement that transformed despair into hope, isolation into community, and fleeting moments of kindness into an everlasting legacy of love. Her journey, etched in the hearts of the people of Bayview and beyond, serves as a living testament to the truth that when we extend our hands in compassion, we hold within them the power to change lives, and ultimately, to change the world. In every sunrise over the bay, in every whispered thank you, and in every act of empathy passed from one person to another, the memory of Evelyn's kindness endures. Her story is a gentle reminder that no one is ever too small to make a difference, and that every life, no matter how ordinary, has the potential to spark extraordinary change. Through the selfless act of offering a hot cup of coffee to a stranger in need, Evelyn unlocked a future filled with promise, a future where hope, compassion, and the simple power of kindness illuminated even the darkest corners of the human soul. And so, as the pages of time continue to turn, and the legacy of compassion is passed down through generations, the story of Evelyn and the Beacon of Hope Foundation will forever serve as a beacon, a luminous reminder that within every act of kindness lies the seed of transformation, capable of blossoming into a legacy that touches lives for centuries to come.